Hello, my name is Stephen Redman and welcome to Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss everything to do with theology books. Maybe they're books on a reading list for your seminary course, your bachelor's or master's degrees, or maybe they're just things you've seen on a bookshelf when visiting your pastor or vicar. Whatever it is, we want to try and help point you to good books, and in this world of finite financial resources, we would like to point you to things that you maybe might benefit in reading. I'd just like to remind you, if you like what we have to say, please click thumbs up and click subscribe and click on the bell, and that way you will know as soon as we release another episode of Pastor's Library. Thank you to those of you that keep sending suggestions. Just to let you know, some of those suggestions take me a time to respond to, as I have to do a lot of reading. But I can assure you I am trying to respond as quickly as I can. Today, I want to talk to you about a book that has recently surprised me. I have had the second edition of this book for quite a while and thought it was useful and found it a very good resource. But this week, the third edition landed on my doorstep, and this book has taken my breath away in its scope and its tremendous advantages it offers the reading evangelical. And that is Across the Spectrum, Understanding Issues in Evangelical Theology. I would say, like probably many of you, I am a card-carrying evangelical. Not only is the church I lead a member of the Evangelical Alliance, but so am I as a person. I think that evangelicalism has got a long shelf life yet, and I am very pleased with the statement of belief of the UK Evangelical Alliance. So I could say to you it's easier then, isn't it, being an evangelical? Except, of course, being an evangelical is a huge umbrella term. And there are lots of different people who are evangelical Christians, who are as born again as I am, who are as committed Christians as I am, and who may have quite a different perspective. And I suppose as I've grown older and read more and met more people, I have realised that actually we're all a little bit weird and we're all a little bit different. And I am sure that there are people out there who look at me and think I am as strange as I look at them and think that they are. And I suppose what I'm saying in all of this is that the church is huge, it's very big, it's growing, thank God. And when we eventually are in paradise with Christ, we will find a lot of people there who we may have had theological differences with here. Which is a long introduction to say I think it's helpful to read across the barriers between theological groups to see what people actually think. When I was in my early 20s, I was taken into a church by an Anglo-Catholic priest in the Church of England. He introduced me to the Eucharist from his point of view. Now, I was born and brought up in a Pentecostal church, a classical Pentecostal church, and my view of the breaking of bread was something quite different. But what I recognised that day was that his views had some validity. And even these days, I find our breaking of bread part of our Sunday morning worship as always a bit fluid and changing a little bit, because we want to embrace the Christ of the emblems, the Christ of the Eucharist, as to the best way that we can. And I suppose all I'm saying to you is I would be a fool to say I have got it right and you have got it wrong. I think that there are many ways in which we can help each other and enrich each other's lives. And if, of course, we do understand what we believe, then other people are not going to dislodge that. In fact, very often, spending time with people who believe a different thing, it might enrich our lives, but it may also help us to realise why we do believe what we believe, and may help us feel that actually maybe we have got things right. And so as a church leader, I would never say to people, oh, you shouldn't read them, they're a Calvinist, or any other dirty word that you may want to insert there. They're a free will theist. They're an open theist. I would never dream of saying that to people, because I honestly believe that as we read around our subjects, then it enriches our lives and helps us understand. You see, if we can't substantiate before somebody why we believe what we believe, then what right do we have, really, to believe it? You know, we ought to be able to understand these things. So this book, I would suggest to you, is probably one of the best in its league that I have ever seen, because this covers the whole spectrum of evangelical belief. Now, I'm hesitating now, because is it possible for anything to cover the full spectrum? But it covers as much as can be covered. And it really responds to questions, objections, and it helps you see from at least two sides, or on some occasions three. So what's it deal with? Well, firstly, it talks about the inerrancy debate. Should we believe that the Bible is without error? And how does that fit with modern translations? It talks about the providence and the foreknowledge debates, which are very much at the centre of what sort of God we believe in. And you will probably be aware that at one extreme there is determinism, at the other extreme there is process theology, and then coming in from those outsides are free will theism, and then relational theism, and open theology. And all of these different ideas of the size of God, the potency of God, if you like, they are all valid evangelical positions. We need to recognise before we get to heaven that there are people that have all of these views. The providence debate, the foreknowledge debate, big issues. You know, let's not fall out about these things, but let's understand that these are real debates. I recently listened to a Calvinism versus Arminianism debate on YouTube between two very, very profound thinkers. You know, at the end of it, I think it was about an hour and a quarter, at the end of it, basically neither of them had won. Yet they both quoted scripture at me for an hour. And, you know, realistically, all of these positions are there because we can substantiate them from scripture, not because we can only substantiate one of them. The truth is, we're evangelicals. We believe in scripture. We believe in the power of God to speak to us through his inspired word. There's no question about that. But understanding why people take a different view, now that is the amazing part. There's a section on understanding Genesis, on understanding the divine image, which that's something that isn't talked about enough, I think. There's the Christology debate, the atonement debate. The atonement debate keeps coming up and keeps wanting to bite us all on the bottom. But three positions are dealt with there. The salvation debate, which is very much, in this book sense, Calvinism versus Arminianism. The sanctification debate, eternal security, the destiny of the unevangelized, which is a big issue in the UK. The baptism debate, the Lord's Supper debate, the debate between those who believe in the charismatic gifts and those that are cessationists, women in ministry, the millennium, hell itself, and then a short section of 15 direct questions which help us. Like, for example, what's the best analogy for the Trinity? Was Noah's flood global or local? What happens to babies who die? Must wives submit to their husbands? These are all live issues in the Church of Jesus Christ amongst evangelicals. We're not talking about liberals here. We're not talking about people from very different traditions. We're talking about those people who can sign on the dotted line to say that they're evangelicals. And this book is mainly written and edited by Gregory Boyd and Paul Rhodes Eddy. These are very distinguished authors who give us a great overview. The first reviews on the back of the book are from Roger Olson, Daniel Trier, Jacqueline Winston, Jonathan Gretz, and Brian Yack. And again, all of these people are distinguished people. Now, you can say, well, I don't want to read anything that challenges my belief of ... Well, you don't have to do. But all I'm saying to you is unless you want to keep your head firmly buried in the sand, it's good to know what other people are believing. And we're not talking here about beliefs that make you not an evangelical. We're talking about beliefs that keep you firmly in the evangelical camp. So the book ends with a really good glossary dealing with certain issues which things like the complementarian view, consubstantiation, cheap grace, cessationists, the free will defense, glossolalia, incompatibilism, all of these different words which are not words in our English diction, well, not words in our normal English vocabulary, but very much in a theological sense. These are here to help us understand exactly what is going on. Then there are endnotes, and this book has also got a bibliography at the end of each chapter. So, what am I saying about this? This third edition is totally different to the second edition. You would not know it was the same book. Well, it isn't the same book. I suppose that's why. There's been a lot of work go into it, and I really recommend this to you as an excellent piece of literature for the theological student. If you were doing a degree or a seminary course where you need to quote things, I can hardly think of any course that you could be doing where you couldn't find a quote in this book. This is so intense. It draws together so many ideas. This really is very helpful. And if you're just looking for what somebody says who disagrees with you so that you can quote it against them, you'll probably find that in here too. So this is a very, very helpful book. I think I've just paid £25 for this in UK currency, which I have to say to you, it's probably about right. It's good value. And whereas it's a paperback, I can see this being a book that's going to get scuffed quite easily, even though I am a person who takes meticulous care and detail over my books. But this is a book that I'm going to be using a lot. And I commend it to you. I think it's a very good book choice to have in your library. If you've liked this, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe and click on the bell, and you'll know as soon as we launch our next Pastor's Library. God bless you. Bye.